Beneath the cool gray morning mists, fields of reddened grain waited for fall. But as dawn's yellow glint pierced the fog, the early calm was broken by a chitinous rustling. Moving through the fields in gleaming rivers, their carapaces sparkling with dew, came two deadly harvest parties. Mandibles clicked as they reached each other, then claws crushed and spikes pierced armor. The warriors destroyed each other while the workers scrambled, not for cover, but to collect the grain in the bodies of the fallen. Dragonish gantuas loomed over the tattered fog, scattering smaller opponents. Termagants hacked at soft underparts. Flyers hovered overhead, waiting to plunge their stings between armor plates. This season's harvest battle was underway. In the early 1980s, microgames enjoyed a brief period of popularity. They were cheaply made games that usually included a small instruction booklet, a map no bigger than a sheet of typing paper, and a small page of counters, which you usually had to cut out yourself. And they were printed on a thin poster board-like material. Everything was small enough to fit into a 4-inch by 7-inch plastic Ziploc bag. They were usually sold on paperback racks in bookstores and game shops. As the 80s progressed, they began to be packaged in plastic clamshell-type packages. Now, microgames emphasized a simple, easy-to-learn system, fast gameplay, and low price. They usually cost $2.95. And while a few historical wargames were created, many of the designs leaned towards science fiction and fantasy topics, which were highly in vogue at the time. One of the first producers of the microgames was Metagaming Concepts, which was started in 1974 by Howard Thompson. One of its earliest microgames was Steve Jackson, produced in 1977. Jackson followed this with the fantasy microgame Wizard and Melee, and in 1980 Jackson would set out on his own to found Steve Jackson Games. His first games at his new company were Raid on Iran, One Page Bulge, and Kung Fu 2100. This would be followed by the wildly popular Car Wars series, as well as the conspiracy-themed Illuminati. In 1979, SPI explored microgaming with its capsule line of science fiction fantasy games, the most prominent of which was Death Maze and The Creature That Ate Sheboygan. After the success of Dungeons & Dragons, TSR published 8 mini-games, the most popular of which were Revolt on Antares, Saga, Vampire, and Remember the Alamo. Heritage USA, a fantasy miniature company, also released a number of microgames under their Dwarf Star line, the most influential of these being the highly innovative solitaire game Barbarian Prince. Now, with the steady overall decline of gaming in the 1980s, the reality that microgames had a very low profit margin, and a trend towards larger and more complex games, the microgames went into a period of dormancy. In the early 2000s, cheap-ass games produced a number of generally humorous offerings such as Kill Dr. Lucky, Before I Kill You, Mr. Bond, and Gimme the Brain. And today a number of companies such as LPS produce the equivalent with their postcard games that can literally fit on a postcard. And this trend is also found today in many of the print and play games, which are published independently. So let's look over the rules here. First, we'll start with the game components. The map's made up of hexes, and the hexes are also divided up into larger megahexes, which have the heavier black lines. And the megahexes are used to control harvest points, food points for dead units, and air unit movement. Terrain's pretty simple. There's plains hexes, which cost 1 movement point to cross. There's river hexes, which cost 2 movement points to cross, except for gantuas, who can traverse them at 1 movement point. There's rough terrain hexes, which include forest and slopes, and low renders can enter these at the cost of 1 movement point. All other units enter at the cost of 2 movement points. Also note that forest hexes have the combat strength of air attack units. Going through the units, each combat unit shows a unit silhouette, the number of units represented by that counter, the combat strength and disrupted combat strength of the unit, its regular movement allowance, and whether it can use charge. There's also initials for the unit type and class. Now, class is the fighting style of the unit. There's 7 types of units. There's gantuas, there's low hackers, there's low renders, flanxes, plunges, ptarmigans, and workers. And there are 5 different classes or fighting styles of combat units. There's renders, there's hackers, there's thrusters, smashers, and flyers. Now note that the worker is a special type of unit. It only has a defensive strength and it has no zone of control. They're basically there only to pick up the harvest chits. Setting up the game's pretty easy. You choose a scenario and you place the suggested number of harvest chits in any lettered hexes on the center of the map. So to determine first move, each player rolls a dice, and the high roller can either choose to move first or which end of the map they want to start from. The low roller can then move second or choose the starting end if the high roller chose to move first, or vice versa. We'll talk a little bit more about victory conditions later, but essentially what you're trying to do is get the harvest chits off the map and kill enemy units. The sequence of play is pretty standard. A player will move all the units that they wish. They'll then turn over all the disrupted units, and these are now undisrupted, and then they'll resolve any combats. Now, like most games, each counter has a certain number of movement points, and ground units are affected by the terrain on the map. For special types of terrain, it costs 2 movement points to enter, except in river terrains, Gantuas just are so big that they wade through the rivers, so it only costs them 1 to enter river hexes. And the low renders only pay 1 to enter rough terrain hexes, because they just scuttle right across them. Now, each ground unit, except for workers, exerts a zone of control in the 6 adjacent hexes, and it costs 1 extra movement point to enter each hex in an enemy zone of control. Thus, a river rough terrain hex in an enemy zone of control would cost 3 to enter. Now, only 3 ground units may stack in any hex, and each black dot on a counter represents 1 unit. So no hex can ever contain more than 3 dots worth of counter. Also note that different types of warrior units may never be placed in the same hex. They're too stupid not to fight among themselves in such close quarters. Thus, Gantuas may only stack with Gantuas, Flanxes may only stack with Flanxes, etc. Workers, however, can stack with any other unit. Units do have facing, and each ground unit has to be faced towards one of the 6 sides of its hex when it finishes a move. It doesn't cost anything to rotate within a hex, but you do have to have it facing one of the hex sides. And also, all units in a hex have the same facing. Now, units can leave the map only at the end of which they entered, and no combat unit can re-enter the map once it's left. Workers, however, can move back and forth off the edge of the map, paying 1 movement point to leave, and the appropriate cost for the hex that they re-enter. Also note that workers are the only units that can pick up and carry the harvest chits. The worker just moves onto the hex containing the chit, and therefore after the chit moves with the worker. No worker can carry more than 30 food points, and if a worker carrying a chit is killed, the chit remains in that hex until it's picked up by another worker. If 2 workers are carrying a chit and one is killed, the other one keeps carrying. A worker can never enter a hex in an enemy zone of control unless a friendly combat unit is in that hex or is moving with the worker. Now, whenever a worker is killed, it's added to the food value of the nearest harvest chit, and it's counted against its owner just like any other unit. However, on the next turn, its owner can start a new worker on their side of the map. Thus, each hive has an unlimited number of workers, but only 6 are seen on the map at any one time. Combat's pretty simple. Each stack of counters attacks and defends as a unit, and a stack attacks at the combat strength of all the warriors in the stack, plus any combat adds for facing or type of warrior attacked. We'll talk about that. A stack defends at the combat strength of all the warriors in the stack, plus 1 for each worker. The attacker must attack all adjacent enemy units in front of its units. Front's determined by the facing of the unit. And when we're talking about in front of, we're talking about the 3 front adjacent hexes. When we're talking about behind or in rear of, we're talking about the 3 adjacent rear hexes. And a ground unit can only attack units that are in front of it. Now, 2 or more stacks can attack one enemy stack as long as the stack being attacked is in the front of both attackers. If more than one stack is in front of a unit, then that unit must attack all of those stacks. When a stack attacks from one of the enemy's 3 rear hexes, it gets 1 additional point of combat strength in that attack for each unit in the stack. Thus, if, say, 2 termagants were attacking an enemy stack from the rear, they would add 2 points, 1 for each termagant unit, for a total of 6 points in that attack. Now, each type of warrior unit has one other type against which it fights exceptionally well, and those are shown under the class adds with the combat results. And basically, this is a rock, paper, scissors kind of mechanism that allows for dice modifications. So smashers are best against hackers, hackers are best against renders, renders are best against thrusters, and thrusters are best against smashers. So when the warriors in the defending stack, regardless of the workers in the stack, are of the type the attacking warriors are best against, each attacking unit gets 1 additional point. And if the units are attacking from the rear, these class adds are in addition to the adds that they get from attacking from the rear. Now, if one stack is attacking 2 or more stack, it gets no class adds unless all the warriors attacked are the type it's best against. If 2 or more stacks are attacking one stack, the warriors attacking warriors of the right type can get a class add, but the others don't. Now, a unit cannot attack enemy units behind it. However, any stack which begins an attack phase with an undisrupted enemy warrior unit behind it will lose 1 extra unit after combat, unless all the enemy units behind it are attacked during that turn. In other words, if something doesn't keep those enemy units busy, they will jump on you while your back's turned. Resolving combat's pretty straightforward. After the odds for each particular combat have been calculated, that combat's resolved, and the attacker rolls a dice and consults the combat results table. On the combat results table, losses are indicated by an A and a number or a D and a number. For example, A2 means the attacker loses 2 units. D3 would mean the defender loses 3 units. There's also disruptions, and disrupted counters suffer no losses, but you flip the counter over and the unit becomes confused and ineffective. A disrupted unit may move only 1 hex, regardless of terrain, in the next movement phase. They can never move into a hex in an enemy zone of control. They can attack and defend at the disrupted combat strength, which is the second number in the upper left-hand corner. They become undisrupted at the end of their next movement phase. And they may attack, but never charge at this time. Also note that flyers and workers never suffer disruption. And if the CRT indicates that a flyer has been disrupted, then they retreat to the next megahex. If the combat results table indicates a retreat by either the attacker or the defender, the units are forced to retreat 1 hex in any direction that the enemy player wishes. Stacks can't be split up in a retreat, and if a stack of unit is completely surrounded by enemy units, the friendly units lose 1 unit instead of retreating. If a unit's moving and it encounters an enemy unit, and it has better than 6-to-1 odds, then it overruns the enemy unit, and that means that it automatically eliminates that unit during the movement phase. The attacker can then proceed normally through movement and attack again in that turn. Now, the only air unit in Chitin is the plunge, and it can attack both ground and other air units. Each plunge unit may move 2 megahexes per turn, and air units are considered present in every hex of the megahex that they occupy. They can be placed anywhere in the megahex, and they can attack ground units in any hex of the megahex. And terrain doesn't affect air movement. There's also no limit to the number of air units that can stack in a megahex. Now, plunges use the same combat system and values as ground units, as well as the same combat results table. However, facing and class add rules don't apply to them. Air units are never disrupted, and if the CRT indicates disrupted, they retreat. They can also not advance after combat. If a unit is forced to retreat, the unit that attacked it can then move into the vacated hex. Just like other units, dead air units count as harvest chits, and they also count against their owner's victory points. Air units have to attack enemy air units in any megahex that they enter with at least equal strength. Excess air units are not committed to combat with the enemy air units, and they can attack enemy ground units in that megahex. And if a player moves a number of air units into a megahex smaller than the number of enemy air units in that megahex, all the entering air units have to attack the enemy units. Now, ground units can never attack air units, and air units may always attack ground units in the same megahex. When an air unit attacks a given stack, they must include in that attack any enemy units in hexes adjacent to the stack, unless some other unit's attacking those adjacent units. Now, Gantuas and Flanxes can charge, and this is indicated by the C after their movement factor in the upper right-hand corner of the counter. So during a movement phase, the player indicates that they're going to charge, and a unit which charges gets 2 extra movement points. It doesn't have to use all of its movement allowance to make the charge, but must attack at the end of movement in order to get the charge movement bonus. A unit which makes the charge attacks at double strength before the adds for that attack. And after figuring out combat results, the unit which made the charge becomes disrupted. Now, a unit which begins its movement phase disrupted can't charge. Now, when your workers are gathering up food, remember that dead units are edible. And in its search for food, a hive will not overlook friendly or enemy units to eat. So whenever a unit is killed, you add 1 value to the nearest harvest chit in the megahex. If more than 1 are equally close, determine it by die roll. So you can see that the more combat that takes place over a particular chit, the more valuable it will become. When a unit's killed and there's no harvest chit in the megahex, place a new harvest chit without a number on that hex where the unit was killed and add the letter of that chit to the list being kept. When a unit's killed and there's no harvest chit in the megahex, then just place a harvest chit without a number on that hex. Also remember that no harvest chit can be worth more than 30 points. That's the limit of the weight a worker could carry. Instead of letting dead units increase a chit past 30 points, add new bodies to the next closest chit in the mega hex, or start a new chit in the same hex, adding all further bodies to it. Of course, a second worker will be required to move that new chit. Victory conditions are pretty straightforward. The game ends when all of the harvest chits have been removed from the map. You then determine points, and each harvest chit counts as its face value, if any, plus 1 for each dead units added to it. And 2 points are subtracted from the player's score for each unit, whether it's a worker or a warrior, that the player loses. So we've got chitin set up here. The red is up at the top, and the teal is going to be down here at the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and pop in one level. I can see things a little better. Hopefully I'll get the rules right. I've played this a few times and played it when I was back in high school, but it's been a while, so we'll try to do it right. So we'll say red gets to go first. And I'm going to move my workers. I think first of all, I'll move those guys. They can move 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll move this worker 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll try to pick up G and B there. So we're going to use these termagants to run interference here. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The flanks will go 2, 4. And these low renders 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They can make it across all this rough terrain easy. They're scuttling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then these plunges are going to go, they can go, I think, what, 2, I said? So there's 1, 2. We'll just put them right down there. Termagant here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Flanks 1, 2, 3, 4. Thing just fell over. Okay, and then this flanks 1, 2, 3. Can't go any further because there's a stream there, and he can't stack either. And then the Gantua can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Gantua kind of uses those streams as roads, and that's it for the. I think that's all the red can do. Let's take these movement. Now we're going to move the teal. Again, we'll try to move workers into E and D and take those as fast as we can. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's just put our, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Get those termagants in to kind of provide some defense. Okay, the Gantuas can go 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 for the low render. Plunge can move 2. I think the plunge can actually move 3, but I'll just say 2 for now. We will move my plunge over here. Low render 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the flanks 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everybody's moved on the teal side. So that's round 1. Let's go to round 2. Gonna move my worker 1, 2. He's gonna pick up G 3, 4. And this worker can go 1, 2, 3, 4. And let's see, then my plunges, I'm going to move here to a plunge attack. And we're going to have some air-to-air combat there. Okay, my low render 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, they can go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the termagant 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe I can sweep down there. Oh, but this guy needs to turn around. Okay, so get the facing right and get this guy's facing right. We certainly don't want him to be attacked from the rear. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I will move that counterclockwise. Okay, the Gantuas can move. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, there's the flanks. Oh, this flanks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, they've all moved. And then we've got a plunge on plunge. So plunges have 2, 4, 6 against 2, 4, 6. Plunges are hard to get rid of in this game. So let's go ahead and go here. We've got 1-to-1 odds. And we roll a 6. So that is a -1. So the plunges actually took some damage there. Okay, so teal plunge. You can't flip those over. I'm just going to throw those over in the dead pile. I need a teal plunge. Teal plunge. That was a 2, so I need it to be a 1. So I'm going to replace him. Okay. And that's it for the red round. So now we can move our teal guys. Low renders. I think I'm going to move these guys up 1, 2, 3. Wait a second here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to rotate him here so that he can get a rear attack in on that termagant. This low render. Now let's go to the flanks here. 1, 2, 3, 4. The Gantua. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then a worker here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I think we've moved everybody. So we've got a termagant. We've got a 2 to 6. So 1 to 3 odds, but you get a +1. And let's see, that's our render versus a hacker. So that doesn't add any more. So now we got let's see, 2 to 6. So 1 to 3 odds. We roll a 5 and we get a +1. That's a 6. So the attacker goes back 1. Oh, I forgot. There's 2 guys there. Okay. 1 to 1. So 1 to 1 and we rolled a 6. So 1 to 1, 6. Okay, that's actually going to be a -1. So the reds are going to go down 1. That's a termagant. We lost a unit, so termagant 2. Oh, I got a red guy. Okay, there we go. Rotate counterclockwise. Okay, and then these guys, the Gantuas can't fight with the plunges in this guy. So that is it for that round. Okay. Go with the red round. Ready? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So they get their first one off the board. Let's see. So that's a victory point. Harvest points. I'm going to have to see what the harvest points are for getting those off again. Hold on just a second. Okay, so it looks like each of these units, each of these harvest units is worth 20 points, 20 victory points. So we'll go up to victory point red and harvest points. Let's put a counter on there. Harvest points is going to be 20. And also dead units, which you subtract from your side, are worth 1 point per unit. So we lost a teal plunge. So teal lost a plunge for 1 point. Let's put that. I need a dead unit counter. And we'll put that there. And then this termagant lost 1. So that moves that to 2. Wait, no, that's a red. Okay. Let's go to the... Okay, so this termagant's going to be the red one here. That's 1. And then the teal Okay, red there. That's teal. This is red. Okay, it's kind of hard keeping these guys straight. Dead unit here for 1. So each of those has lost a unit. So okay, and we should put a harvest point there too. Let's put a harvest right here on 0. And I think we need a second one. Well, I'm having a terrible time here. Harvest, harvest. Okay. Teal has red, has yours. Okay, red needs there. That needs to be there. Encounters, harvest, harvest, 0. There's 20. Okay, everybody's finally together here. Where was I? Okay, so that's the worker that moved off. Now these workers here can move 1, 2, 3, 4. The flanks. Let's move these guys here. 1, 2. Oh, and this is 1, 2. Yeah, that would be 2 because you're moving into that zone of control. It's hard to remember that zone of control rule about movement, where it costs an extra point to move into the zone of control of an enemy. But we will keep going. And I'm going to sit right here on that. Okay, this termagant, I could turn around, but that's going to expose my rear. The Gantua, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can freely turn in this. So the Gantua is going to ride up there. I'm going to go ahead and move this clockwise 1. Okay, and then this flanks 1, 2. Hold on, this guy 1, 2, 3. He can't move in there because again that zone of control. I have a hard time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we will just do that. We can move that way, so we can't make a rear. Hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, you can make a rear attack. Counterclockwise. There we go. So he's making a rear attack now because these 3 hexes back here are rear. These 3 hexes are front. There's no flanks in this. Well, there's flankses, but there's no flank with an F. 2, 4. That's as far as I can go. 1. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. These plunges. What am I going to do? I'm going to move my plunges over against these workers. And I think that's it. Those guys are off the board, so. Now, I don't think you can go off the board and come back in the board with the worker in the same round, so. Okay, now then, let's do some battling. So, this low render and this low render, I'm going to go an R against a termagant. So, we've got a 4 to 6. That's a 2 to 3 odds. And let's see. Termagants are H's and R's to H's. Nope. Okay. But we still have 2 to 3 odds. And we get a 2. So this low render goes back. And we lose a low render point. So we need to change our counter up for a red. Low render was 2. He's now a low render 1. Okay. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Pull him off. And I like pulling these off versus getting rid of them because I can kind of see what I'm doing. And then I need to remember that victory points red. Red has a dead unit. Another dead unit. Okay, now then we have these guys for 8 to 6. And that's going to be 3 to 2 odds. And 3 to 2 odds. Let's see, roll again. A 2. 3 to 2 with a 2. Okay, these guys go back. And that's that combat. Okay, over here we have a termagant and a Gantua. So we're going to let the Gantua go first. And it's a 12 to 2, so 6 to 1 odds plus 1. And it's a 6 to 1 plus 1, or 5 to 1, I guess. Doesn't really matter because it's going to eliminate. Oh, there's another guy. I keep forgetting that. Okay, 6. So 2 to 1 odds plus 1. 2 to 1 plus 1. And then it's an S, a smasher versus a render. So nope, nothing there. So 2 to 1 plus 1. Let's roll it. I get a 5. 2 to 1. So that's a 6. So minus 2. Well, that guy's gone, and then this low render's taken out. So delete it. And then, oh, we also got to remember that a couple things I got to remember. So first of all, we got rid of him. Then we need to get Teal's victory points. They just lost 2 units. And then this harvest marker here has a 1, since it's a 1, chit is gone, we need to add a chit to F. Okay, so harvest, A, G, and F, we're going to add another harvest marker here. Tracking harvest marker. Okay, so F gets a 1, no, 2. There's 2 per chit destroyed. So now this has got a little bit of extra food with it. I'm going to put a little thing here indicating that, there we go, he's got extra. There's this guy, this guy, this guy, these guys, everything. Okay, now finally these plunges. 4, 8, 12 to 2, so 6 to 1. That's an automatic elimination of these 2 workers. So we're going to do the same thing here. First of all, I got to go to Teal 1, 2. And then D, I can put another extra harvest on D. Let's see, there's 2, actually 2 chits were lost, so and we lost 2. Did I say that was, oh, 4, that's 4, not 2. 1, and we're going to put another counter on him just to indicate there's those there. Okay. So the workers go off the map. They'll come back in, not in this round, but in the next round. Okay. Red has done its thing. Now Teal gets to go. Where are my plunges going to act? I think my plunges are going to try to go here. 1, 2... I said 2, but I think they can go 3. So we're going to attack with there, with a plunge. Do the same thing he did to us. Really, with plunges, the only thing you can do is hope they attack somebody that fights back hard enough. Okay, got to remember on this low render, since he's got a rear attack, that he's going to automatically lose 1. He's going to be out at the end no matter what happens. Well, unless I move this guy up. 1, 2, he's, well. Okay. The Gantuas. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's about as good as I'm going to get. And this flanks. 2, 4. Okay, moving this worker back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, he's back to there. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and then he can move 4 there. Okay. And let's see, these workers, they could probably take that one. Let's make this termagant go. Oh, I can move both of those termagants there. But this guy can then come up behind me. We're going to rotate him counterclockwise and attack here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Big hole in the middle, though. Okay, lots more going on. This game actually is kind of cool when you get the chaos in the middle of everything. Let's try to bring it down several steps. I'm going to move these guys counterclockwise 1. That's okay. Their facing's all the same. Okay, the low render is going to go against this Gantua. Oh, yeah. that's 4 to 12. Okay. It's 1 to 3 odds. He's gonna, if it's 6 to 12, it's 1 to 2. Okay, I'm gonna move him, rotate, 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 rotate. He was able to get out of being hit in the back, so that's okay. So we're going to say 4, 6 to 12 is 1 to 2 odds, and it's an R versus an S. Okay, 1 to 2, R versus S. Nope. We roll a 3. 1 to 2, 1, 2, 3. So teal takes 1. I'm just going to get rid of this guy. Well, no, I'm not. Going to get low render here. A teal low render, low render, low render. Where are you? There. Okay. And VP teal, they take a point. Okay, there we go. He's going to have somebody in his back either way. So I'm going to say he's gone because no matter which way he turns, he's going to have somebody in a back hex. So if you get that one, even in your attack phase, you lose one if you can't do... Well, wait. Okay. This is dependent. If the Gantua can somehow get rid of this Termagant, then it won't affect that low render. So the Gantua has 4, 8, 12. Okay. Gantua's got 12 to 4, so 3 to 1 odds. And a Gantua's a smasher versus a hacker. Oh, they get another +1. So 3 to 1 plus 1. Okay, we roll a 3, and that's 4. 4 minus 1. Okay, doesn't get rid of this guy, but it does bring him down 1. So the Termagant goes here, and we need to replace him with a Termagant, a red Termagant. Okay, and we're going to rotate, rotate. Okay, and then this guy is gone because, oh wait, we've got to get a point, a victory point. So red, wait, was that red or teal? That's red. Okay, red loses another one because they lost a unit. And then this low render's gone because we still have somebody in his rear zone, so he's gone. So with a low render unit gone, that means teal loses another victory point. And this one, the other thing is that that dead bug goes to F. So F gets 2. 1, 2. Okay, they're now at 4. And I think that's it. I think I got everything there. Okay, teal's over here is going to go a hacker, a 3, that's a 6 to 4, so it's 3 to 2. Hacker versus a render. So yeah, they get a +1, okay. 4, 5, 3 to 2, 3 to 2, 5, okay. -1, okay. We go here with this low render. We'll replace him out. And rotate, rotate. Okay. We lose a unit for red. Red loses a unit, so we can throw another one there. Okay, and then Termagant is a 6 to 4. Same thing. It's going to be a 3 to 2 plus 1. Okay, 5, 6. Oof. 3 to 2, 6. -1 again for the red. Okay. So the low render is changed down to a 1 low render. Rotate, rotate, rotate. Okay. And then victory points red. Okay, there's another dead unit that they have against them. And that's it. I think that's it. The plunges have gone. Or no, the teal plunges. Oh, teal plunges. Okay, teal plunges up here are 12 to 3. 4 to 1. 2. 4 to 1. -1 on a worker. Okay. So this worker gets to go back up here. And let's see. Victory points. Red loses 1 here. And then we also gain a harvest chit. Whoop, get off there. So B now has a harvest chit. Of 2. There's 1, 2 extra. And it's actually a 22. Those guys are there, those guys are there. Doesn't really matter which direction they're facing. Okay, I think I got everybody there. And I better put another harvest chit down here just to say, man, why is it sticking so bad? There. That indicates that there is more units down buried below there. Okay, time for a little sip of coffee. My mouth gets dry talking. Okay. It is now time for... Let's see, that was teal to move. Okay, red gets to move now. Where is red going to go? I think we'll try to get rid of that worker there. And these guys can go. They can come back in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and these guys can get off the map. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, they made it off. Let's see. Let's get these guys figured out. So B was worth 20. Harvest chit B was worth 22. Okay. So we'll go to our victory points and we will say we now have 20. This was worth 40 and 2. There we go. I'll put that there. Get it out of the way. Okay. Now then, I am going to do something here. I'm going to take this guy and make a charge and attack the flanks. So making a charge at 12 to 2 is 6 to 1 odds. I think that's enough. We will hold on just to let me check the rules. Okay, so we've moved these guys. These guys can move. What I'm going to do, I'm going to spread these guys out. I'm going to try to confuse. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. This teaches you to disperse these guys, because those plunges are really tough on these guys. So we'll do a little dispersal. I think that's the lesson learned with your workers. This guy here, this Gantua, I'm going to do something. Get that out of the way. Ah! Man, these are sticky. Okay, so he was in this hex. Now, he's going to overrun this. He can get 6 to 1 odds. He's 12 to 2. So low render is gone. So he goes 1, 2, 3, and attacks the flanks as a charge. There's 2 flanks. They have 9 points, and a charge I'm going to double. So, got to remember that. This low render, I'm just going to flip him here to show that he's out of the picture. I'll worry about him later. Okay, these guys are attacking. These flanks will go 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. They can't go there. 2, 4, 6. That's about all he can do. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Red guy's going to stay here. Flanks here is going to go 2, 4. That's 7. 2, 1, 2, 3. 4. Okay, and we're going to rotate counterclockwise, counterclockwise. Okay, this guy is here. Those two can pop up with each other. And I think I got everybody moved. Okay, so Gantua was into charge, so that gives him a 24 to 9. So still 2-to-1 odds. It didn't. I guess it helped a little bit. 2-to-1 odds, and he's a smasher versus a hacker. Now versus a thruster. So we get a 2-to-1 6. Okay, -2. Well, we're going to take this guy off, and we lost 2 points, so we're going to go with your teal victory points. They lost 2 more, and then they lost that low render, so that's 3. And a dead unit counter. Let's see, that's now 10. Okay, so now they have 11 points lost. And since they lost a unit here, I guess we'll put 2 more points on this here. F. Let's go with F. 1, 2. Okay. So now there's 6 points on F. This guy is disrupted, so we can flip him over. And that's it for that one. Okay, let's take these plunges. 4, 6, or 4, 8, 12 to 1. It's a 6-to-1, so this worker's automatically knocked out. So we go back to a harvest for E. Harvest for E. Oops, that's H. Okay. Harvest E. There you are. Okay, we need a harvest point. And that's now 20, and we'll say 2, 22. Okay. And then victory points. Teal lost another dead unit for a point there. There's another dead unit gone. And I think, okay, then we're over here. This red. Oh, I moved him the wrong way. Let's rotate him around. Okay. Whoop. Clockwise. There we go. Nobody's in the rear of this guy. But these Gantuas have a 4, 8, 12. And then we're up against a 6, 8, 6, 12, 14. So 1-to-1 odds. Let's see, a thruster versus a smasher. So 2 thrusters could fight against the smasher. Let's do that. Okay, we're going to do the thrusters against the smasher. So we've got 6, 12, so that's 1-to-1. And then the termagant will attack after those 2 go. So 1-to-1 plus 1, 3, 4. Okay, they moved back. The Gantuas moved back 1. So the termagant can't do anything. Am I going to move in? I don't think so. I think we'll stay where we're at. Okay, now then we've got a 6, 7, 8, 2, 6. Okay, the termagant, let's see, he's a hacker, so a smasher would have to be in there. So no smashers. So 6, 7, 8 to 6. That's 4 to 3. Not quite 3 to 2 odds. So we'll just say 1-to-1 odds with a 4. And we move these guys back. I got 2 low renders for 4 against 6. That's a 2 to 3. Renders versus a, what was that against? A hacker. Okay. 2 to 3 with a 4. Okay, the attacker moves back. That's it. Everybody else is done, so. Okay, and then these plunges will go here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see, everybody. Oh, this flanks can go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, this sends these guys back. They send these guys back. And 12 to 9. Okay, 1 to 1. 3 sends him back. I think this game is pretty much it's over. We can just sit here and continue to grind through workers. Basically, teal would keep bringing workers on the board, and we'd just keep cutting them off. And then flanks would kind of do the same thing. So it's kind of end up a stalemate. The only thing is the plunges are eventually going to take that flanks out. That plunge would be, eventually I can take it out with these plunges here. So I think I'm going to figure it up from here. Like I say with the game, sometimes I know when it's just time to call it a day. So let's look at victory points here. Red got 40. They harvested 42 points. And then I'm going to double this. So, and then they killed off, or no, let me write this down. Okay. Harvest for red, 42. And then we subtract the dead units. So we subtract 31. Let's keep it relative. Well, okay, that'd be 62. So 42 minus 62, so red has minus 20. Okay. There's that game you play with quilts that ends up like this, where everybody has negative points. Let's see, teal harvested 44 points. And they killed off 29, 58. So that's 6 and negative 14. Okay, so basically red got minus 20 points and teal got minus 14. So actually, I think teal ended up winning that one, even though they lost all those units. I think it would, again, turn around a little bit if red just kept having them grind units. Eventually, pretty quickly, like in a turn or two, the grind would take away the red units, but teal's never going to be able to pick up any of those harvest chits till they're just down to the final unit. I guess they could come in on all these various spaces down here, but like I say, on these attrition type games, once they get to that point, I'm not really willing to keep playing them out. So that's what I got. I don't know. It's kind of a cool game. I don't really care for the victory point determination. Like a lot of these games, I think it's kind of silly and a little bit overly complicated for what it is, but it works. I also think that at a certain point, you shouldn't have to replenish workers, so you don't get to that point like it did in this game. Some of the games play with a lot more units. I think this is just kind of the medium level play game, and it does it with more units. You can also include some, what are they called? Not the workers, the basics. And the basics are kind of leadership units, and they can control units. But again, once you start throwing in leadership, the games get pretty complex. So I didn't really, playing a solo game, I just didn't want to invest that much time in it. Anyway, it's kind of an interesting little game. I think it's basic, but it is kind of fun. So that's what I got this week. I'll talk to you later. Bye.